You seem to have something on your mind. It's been quite a while since the last time I was summoned, but as always, Somea's forehead is riddled with the deep wrinkles of worry. I can see that. A pleased look appeared in Somea's eyes. Yes, of course. She's my sister. Somea smirked coldly. Not at all. She's actually quite a handful, you see. In fact, I was just thinking how nice it would be to teach her a little lesson, to let her know her limitations. Somea spoke with sparkling eyes and a stiffened face. Give me the details. Somea sighed and looked into my eyes. Nope. I only remember her taking part in the last World Championships. Sadly, I have negligible knowledge when it comes to art. Somea condemned it as worthless, and still, I didn't feel any particular way about it. I see, so Seta is a gladiator you personally raised. I like the way you can see people as commodities. Yes? But she couldn't even scratch Asakanon's fame? How's her technique? Selling points?
カノンはトリプルアクセルに加え、先のカナダ大会では4回転ジャンプにも挑戦している。
Did she succeed?
両足で着氷して、さらにバランスを崩して手をついてしまったらしいな。危うく史上初の記録が出るところだったよ。
Kanon does sound like an attention grabber on the ice. I gave a wry smile while shaking my head. So, what are you telling me to do?
分かっているくせに、随分と人が悪いな。
Sumea's face twisted as he spoke in a pleading tone.
高くつくのは分かっている。しかし、君ほど頼もしい男もいないんだ。
If you want it done illegally, don't you already have people in your employ to take care of that?
ヤクザどもも今回ばかりは無理だ。何せ、浅井カノンのバックに総和連合がついているのは周知の事実。
There was an uneasiness in my heart. My previous kidnapping was a success for the most part. However, it was not without some element of danger. If Tsubaki's loyalty had ever wavered, the police would have surely gotten involved, and Usami nearly caught my arm along Central Boulevard. It would probably be best to stop with these games from here on out, but they really get my pulse pounding. If the Yakuza has her back, then we're absolved from police intervention, no?
少なくともヤクザがすんなりデカに泣きつくことはないだろうね。
There was much hope in Somea's voice. I gazed at Somea and repeated his words in my mind. The price will be high. My headache is getting more intense lately.
頭痛、医者にかかったらどうかね。
The doctor can do nothing about it. It's a chronic disease I've had for many years now.
これは驚いたな。初めて君の人間らしい一面を覗いたよ。
As Somea acted thankfully, I made a deliberate smile. Be at ease, I'll take the job. It seems he was worried I was going to use my illness as an excuse to refuse.
いいのかね?
But he regained his cunning smile right away.
カノンは君の家族なのだろう?
He stated it like he was joking. Being family doesn't preclude one from being human vermin. Perhaps the emotion on my face was too cold-blooded, as Somea just kept his eyes wide open and his mouth shut tightly. I'm a hopeless man, one whose pain can only be eased by concocting plans to trap others.
救われんね。まるで他人の正気でも吸って生きているようなものじゃないか。
So it is. I nodded and the two of us laughed darkly. My head doesn't hurt anymore. That night I slept far more soundly than usual, as if I were a seed calmly awaiting the inevitable spring. In the evening, the red and black horizon was diced into pieces by the square and triangle shapes of rooftops.
兄さん、今日どうして学校サボったの？
And what are you doing out here yourself? At my return from the Isai Corporation's Central Boulevard office, I suddenly met Kanon in front of my apartment building. What about practice? Isn't there a big tournament coming up?
今から行くよ。兄さんと一緒にね。
What? I have to go too?
たまには見ててよ。
Oh, but how could I ever disturb your practice?
いいから。
Don't grab my arm.
いいからいいから。
Hey, don't hug me like that.
ロシアの挨拶だよ。
You're loud and the neighbors can see us.
まったく、兄さんは日陰っ子だな。
I'm just not an attention whore like you.
ほえー
Don't hohe me. If you get shot by the paparazzi at a place like this, there'll be hell to pay.
そうかな。今まで一度もプライベートな写真撮られたことないよ。
Yes, you did.
ないよ。
Yeah, now that I think about it, Gonzo took some people and beat up the editors before it printed. The matter was settled cleanly. No, you're right. Never mind.
変な兄さん、ほら行くよ。来ないともっとくっついちゃうぞ。
Alright, fine. I'll go. I managed to not.
あ、言い忘れてた。パパリンも来るって。
Oh, seriously?
なんか兄さんにお話あるって言ってたよ。
Idiot, why didn't you say so in the first place? We walked to the arena together.
じゃあね、休憩時間になったら一緒にご飯しようね。
Sure. Kanon walked away lightly, showing off her pair of long legs. I found the spectator's entrance and walked into the giant structure. And at that moment...
チュワス。
Oh, what's Usami doing here? What the fuck, man?
今日も冷えますね。
Then wear a coat, for God's sake. And would you stop popping up so casually?
バイトはお休みですから。
Let's get ready. Now why don't you run off somewhere and play?
ちなみに浅井さんは今日の学園はなぜにブッチされたんですか？
Are you even trying to have a conversation with me?
ああ、お仕事ですか。そうですか。怒りました？
I sighed heavily and exaggeratedly clicked my tongue.
実はなぜ自分もここにいるのかわからないのです。
Amnesia?
いえいえ。しかし記憶喪失の少女ってどうして美人で色白でいつも病院のベッドにいるような善人ばっかりなんですかね？
I don't know if it's the case every time, but kind, beautiful girls obviously get more reaction from the audience when they die. It makes the story more dramatic, more of a tearjerker, but more importantly, you should hurry up and go somewhere else.
そういうわけにもいきませんでね。さあ、行きましょうか。
Usami turned her back to me and walked into the facility. Hey! At times like this, right before a big event, normal spectators shouldn't be able to enter. There were many skaters already practicing on the ice. Quite a few of them were decked out in their competition outfits, so the rink looked like it had been scattered with flowers.
うわ、広いっすね。
Usami got inside successfully.
爆弾でも仕掛けられたらどうするんですかね。
How did you get in?
いや、別に受付で事情を話しただけです。
A few things? What things? As I was questioning her, a sound boomed over us from the seats above.
俺が呼んだ。
What? Gonzo called her? Why? Turning my head, I saw the familiar sight of a certain thug. He was accompanied by one of the family, a bodyguard whose name I think was Ijima.
お前が宇佐美遥か。
I don't know why, but Usami's face was as expressionless as a blank mask. She gave a single slow nod. Father, just... what is... Why? Why would Gonzo call Usami out here?
つい先ほど俺の家に一通の封書が届いた。
A sealed letter? Gonzo's piercing stare was directed at Usami.
内容はざっとこうだ。浅井カノンが日本代表に選ばれた場合、カノンの母親を殺す。
I guess Maou wrote that letter. For an instant, I couldn't breathe. Is that a threat? Gonzo didn't answer my question. But don't you get letters like that frequently? Because Canon is so popular, both fan letters and such anonymous messages sent by people with mental problems are so common as to be expected these days.
黙る京介。
A glare from him made me feel as if my body had cramped up. Gonzo only brings this kind of attitude down on me when I've made a mistake. My gears immediately began to turn. I'm sorry, it was sent to your residence. If you think about it, that part is suspicious. Why was it addressed to her father's home instead of an organization officially associated with Canon? And why was Usami called here?
差出人は魔王だ。
Yep,
わか
I
るな。
knew it.
ウサミ。
Usami didn't say a word, she just nodded silently.
魔王について知っていることを話せ。どうした？京介が言うには、お前と魔王はただならぬ因縁があるそうだ。
Yeah, that's right, he told Gonzo about the connection between Maou and Usami. She kept her silence. Still, with that face utterly devoid of emotion, she stared back at Gonzo's glare without blinking.
おい、口が聞けねえのか。
The fox standing beside Gonzo took a step forward. Gonzo stopped him with his hand.
魔王を追っているのだろう。動け。尻尾を掴んだら俺に言え。いいな。
Throwing behind that sentence, Gonzo turned around and left. The bodyguard also left, following him. Hey, Usami. When Gonzo left, the arena came alive again. The sound of the coach's yells and the sound of blades cutting into ice finally managed to reach my ears. Christ, just what is going on? Not only has Gonzo's existence been exposed to Usami, but Maou is at it again. And this time it's a threat to Canon. What the hell is this man's goal? Usami, why are you just standing there staring vacantly? Hey, come on now, tell me a little about what you are thinking. She gave a quick, quiet moan. What? And following that, she screamed. Huh? I was shocked stiff. What? What? Would you calm down? Her rounded eyes emphasized her own stupefaction. Didn't you hear me call him father? She kept repeating a motion of cutting her thumb against her cheek. For the last time, that was my father. Yeah. That's true. Could it be that the reason she didn't speak was because she was scared? So you're scared after all? Feeling a headache coming on, I spoke to Usami. Look, did you hear everything through that stupor of fear? Well, what do you think? Sounds like you got a case of it yourself. Maou is on the move again. Is this girl really alright? We continued our conversation while the skaters practiced with devotion in the corners of our eyes. Gonzo tends to be sudden. Don't tell anyone. I'm pretty sure no one does that concrete shoes thing anymore. And about Mao?
ええ、現時点では何もわかりません。
She said it, straight to the point.
ゴンゾーさんの自宅の所在を知っている人物こそが魔王です。
That's too broad. Even if we ignore people in the organization, anyone who's ever contacted him would come under suspicion.
ええ、ですから私は魔王じゃありませんね。
We all knew you weren't.
さらに言えば、ゴンゾーさんとカノンの関係を知っていて、なおかつカノンが敗退すると得をする人物です。
That means I'm not Mao.
そうなんすか？
Seeing as how you've already heard so much, I'll tell you. Kanon's organization is funded by a company I'm affiliated with.
それが浅井工業ですか？いわゆるフロント企業というやつだったんですね。ヤクザが資金洗浄や法律の目を逃れるためによく設立するという。
Well, actually, the one dishing out the money isn't the Asai Corporation, but another company Gonzo owns. But that's neither here nor there. You understand that I'm not Maou now, right?
そうですね。カノンが負けたら何かと損するのでしょうね。
Not to mention the implied humiliation.
妹を脅迫してなおかつ自分の母親を殺そうだなんて鬼畜にも程がありますよね。
Yeah. There seems to be a misunderstanding. Well, about mother.
なるほど。浅井さんの実のお母さんではないんですね。
How did you know?
いえ、先ほどのお話ではゴンゾーさんはこう言われたのでしょ。浅井カノンが日本代表に選ばれた場合、カノンの母親を殺すと。
I nodded, urging her to go on.
カノンの母親を殺すということですが、もしこれが魔王の脅迫文そのものだったとしましょう。
Is it? I see.
脅迫状がゴンゾーさんに当てられているのならば、文面はお前の妻を殺すとなりそうなものです。
Well, not necessarily.
ここで例えばお前の妻では文意が通らなかったとしましょう。するとカノンの母親はゴンゾーさんの妻ではないということになります。母親だけど妻じゃない。これはいかに？
Alright, I'll tell you. She was his lover once, a long time ago.
カノンは連れ子というわけですか。
She was born during their relationship, but they were never married. By the way, I'm the adopted son.
ぶっちゃけ似てませんもんね、あなたとゴンゾーさんは。
But Kanon and Gonzo are related by blood.
その辺はギャルは可愛くなきゃみたいな恣意的な大人の力が働いているわけでして、私には何とも。
That's enough. Returning to my last point, I reminded her once again. Look, you can't tell a soul. Kanon doesn't know that she is a concubine's child. Or she doesn't know.
分かってますって。東京湾が血の海になりますからね。
She shook, pretending to be scared.
で、そのお母さんは今何を？
Her name's Ikoko-san, and I'm not very good at dealing with her.
おや、カノンですね。
Suddenly, Usami waved to something behind me.
おーい、兄さん。
Because she was waving, I also held up my hand for a bit.
あれ？ウサミンも一緒なの？うん。私もペンギンの端くれだから。
No, you're not.
氷が恋しくなったんだ。
While telling the joke, Usami's gaze turned to the person standing beside Kanon.
どうも、こんにちは。
Oh, is that Ikoko-san? A calm smile.
久しぶりね、京介くん。元気だった？
Fine, I see you are still doing well. She lowered her head clumsily. How's Kanon's condition? After I asked, there was an incomprehensible pause. She finally turned to Kanon.
だって、どうかのんちゃん？
どうして私に聞くのかな？コーチから見て私はどうなのってことだと
Or
思
her
うよ。
coach.
あら？
Again, there was a pause long enough to take a big breath in and out.
そうなの？ごめんなさいね。
Her eyes wandered to the corner of her vision as she smiled. She seemed troubled.
私は絶好調だよ、兄さん。
Unexpectedly, Kanon salvaged the conversation.
そうね、かのんちゃん。だから、校長よねって。
うん。
だって、京介くん。
Ah, yes. It's hard for me to get used to Ikoko-san's rhythm.
そんなことより夕飯の話しませんか？
And the conversation was scattered again by this girl's trademarked absurdity.
うん、お腹すいた。テラスでご飯食べよう。
かのんちゃん、7時からまたジャンプの練習ね。
また？曲流してほしいよ。
そう？
She zoned out for a moment and put herself back together a moment later.
ヒルトン先生がそう言ってたから。
Mr. Hilton? Who's that?
そうなんだ。じゃあやるよ。
お願いね。
Kanon was driven to an expression of exhaustion.
じゃあね、京介くん。カノンも寂しがってるから、たまにはうちに顔出してね。
I know, I'm sorry, I've just been really busy recently, I haven't had a chance to.
そんな堅苦しくなることないのよ。私はあなたのお母さんじゃありませんけどね。
Of course you aren't. The words that were prying out of my mouth were swallowed back at the last moment.
では、ごきげんよう。
That woman and I are on separate planets or something, I have no idea how to deal with her. Just now, for instance, she put her foot straight into her mouth and then didn't even have the decency to realize it.
さ、兄さん、ご飯ごちそうして。
Sure.
あれれ、本当にゴチなの？珍しいな。いやいや、すみませんね、アザイさん。
I suppose it's what I get for answering while zoned out, but Usami somehow ended up standing in front of me, waving her arms around like a sea anemone. It's a loan for you.